Thank you for welcoming me onto your screens or onto headphones, depending on how you're watching this. I'm Eddie, and this is The Rollback. Folks, I'm here to talk to you today about They Cloned Tyrone, aka sort of based on a true story, kind of. So the movie surrounds a guy by the name of Fontaine, played by John Boyega. Boyega, I think I pronounced that correctly. I hope I am. So the film centers around John Boyega's character, technically Fontaine, but also technically Chester, and then technically Tyrone, and then Old Fontaine. He covers a bunch of different characters. Essentially, he's meant to be an experiment to see the long-term effects of Old Fontaine. It's a bit complicated. So Fontaine gets shot and killed, and then he's just brought back, and his memories are like replanted as like a clone, but the clone felt everything, and he's alive. And it's a very complicated story because initially you think it's like a weird drug movie, but then it becomes they cloned him. Why did they clone him? Well, it's part of an experiment. This whole area that he lives in, this impoverished area that depends on drug deals and whatnot, turns out it's a massive experiment to see if they can assimilate, so I say it, people of color. It's meant to be some type of government conspiracy theory where they're trying to not subjugate, but I guess tame African Americans or people of color into being more subjugated, to assimilate them into white culture. That way there's no more violence. Young Fontaine deals with this with Old Fontaine, the original Fontaine, who is also like this incredible scientist who manages to clone himself repeatedly. And he does this because his brother was killed for stealing like $5, but they said he stole, but let's be real, he didn't. And he decides that the best way to quell the violence against the colored community would be to slowly but surely like integrate them into white culture and have them, sleep with other white people and like breed. It's really fucked up, his mentality. He wants to assimilate them into white culture because, in his own words, assimilation or annihilation. Take your pick. This movie covers a wide range of topics and issues, social issues that I think are important to view, but also not through a satirical lens, but more like, this shit may seem far-fetched, but it's not that far-fetched. There are well-documented accounts of the U.S. government actually allowing drugs to be filtered into the streets through, let's be honest here, minority dominant neighborhoods. It's okay that the drugs are in that side, but keep it on that side of the tracks, not on the good side. You know what I mean? And it's harsh and ugly, but also not exactly inaccurate when you really take into account historical events that have happened. Other people I want to talk about in this film: Jamie Foxx as Slick Charles. Slick Charles, fucking hilarious. He chews up this whole film. There's one scene that still makes me laugh. If you can tell me where the freaking doors will be out your atmosphere, which I need to find a way to use that in my everyday vocabulary. Love him. Tiana Paris as Yo-Yo, also outstanding. She kind of plays like the straight man character, I guess you could say, as far as like... At one point they refer to Nancy Drew and they're like, let's review the facts. We know this, we know this, we know this, we know that. Here's what we're going to do. Like, she's the smart one of the group, not to say anything about Fontaine or Slick Charles. There's also a scene in this movie that makes me proud. And let me pull back the curtain real quick just so you understand. There's a scene in one of the Paranormal Activity films when it deals with Hispanics, where they're kind of like, hey, we need to go to this cult house to deal with this problem, otherwise, your cousin's gonna get killed. And the older cousin's like, alright, cool. And he goes with a shotgun, and he's just ready to go, ready to blast. And something about that made me proud of, like, we have each other's back. Even if we don't agree, we have it where it counts. And in this film, in the third act, which is actually a really great third act, you kind of unite all the angry enemies, the drug dealers that are fighting with each other, the money people. They're all like at each other's throats, right? Like, it's violent. They all come together and band together against this major threat, and something about that just makes me proud that it's our fucking neighborhood. And I don't know, there's something about that I just really enjoy. As far as They Cloned Tyrone, Will it be nominated for Oscars? I doubt it, but it's still frankly great. This film, along with The Harder They Fall, like, I recommend those films on Netflix by far. This movie, I'm gonna say an A. It hit with me for the most part. I don't really know how they could have made it any better, and that's the thing. Like, I can't think of improvements for this film. Yeah, they Cloned Tyrone. Go check it out. It definitely deserves attention. That said, what did you think of the story? Go ahead and comment down below. We'd greatly appreciate it. Always subscribe, please and thank you. We're always trying to grow this channel, and there's about to be a big influx of content, so be sure to be on the lookout for all that. See you, everybody.